Hey, it's Kyle here, and today I'll be reviewing Eternity Road by Jack McDevitt. Very interesting dystopian novel that really, honestly, I'd never heard of before, but I saw it at a used book sale. The description on the back cover sounded kind of interesting. I've read one book by this author before that I really enjoyed. That was more sci-fi, and I thought, I really enjoyed dystopian. Again, the description on the back sounded really interesting. Oh, let me take a chance. I'm really glad I did. It was a very interesting story. Really enjoyed it a lot. So this book is set several hundred years after the collapse of civilization as we know it. It's made very clear early on that the people in this new society are aware of the society that came before them and how they were technologically advanced, but they don't really know a whole lot about them and why exactly their civilization collapsed, but they're aware they exist. The story in this book specifically takes place in some settlements along the Mississippi River, and they basically call what our society would be as the road builders, because the main way they're aware of this society is basically all the remnants of the interstate system and the bridges for the road systems that still exist in ruined form. And they are actually blown away by these ruins because they completely are so far ahead of anything that their current society can construct. They have no idea how this ancient civilization was able to construct stuff like this, and how they were so powerful and how they were able to master engineering in such a way, yet their civilization was still able to collapse somehow. All they know about why it collapsed, it was some sort of plague, but they don't really know anything else about that. Our book is kind of set in a period where like this new civilization is beginning to kind of get, I think, more organized. It's beginning to take the steps to establishing more trade, a more official government instead of more of an anarchic system. You're beginning to have some advancements in technology and stuff. Nowhere near where we're at the moment, but like I would think, they're currently at the phase, I would say think of like the early 1800s or, that period. But they're beginning to make steps where you see like, oh, this could be the rebirth of civilization. They could begin, becoming more organized, more technologically advanced, developing more concepts like democracy and stuff like that. So everything I just described to you is really just setting up like what the world is like in this book, but this doesn't really talk about the plot. And so basically the plot of this book is the people in this settlement on the Mississippi River have this legend about a community called Haven. And Haven exists several hundred miles away, and the legend is when the road builder society was collapsed, and this one individual made its mission to try to safeguard as much information as possible and kind of hide it away in a place that would be safe, so when society was ready to rebuild, this information could be used again. So for the people that live in this world, some people actually think this is real. Other people are like, that's just a myth that's made up, there's nothing like that. It's just a fantasy that people have created in hopes of being able to reacquire all the knowledge of the road builders. But early on, there's some evidence that kind of appears like, hey, we think somebody might have actually found this. Why don't we try to retrace this person's steps and see if we can find what they discovered? And that's where the book goes. And basically the entire book, and the majority of it, is this journey from the Mississippi Valley, which they believe Haven, and they don't really know the layout, like for example the old United States, but it's revealed very early on through some information that it exists somewhere in the Northeast, maybe somewhere in the New York region, we're not exactly sure, but somewhere there. And they're going to have to travel all this by horseback, by foot and stuff, so obviously this is going to be a very long journey. So it's kind of a dystopian journey through what America is now. And as while they're making this journey, you begin to learn little tidbits about what happened to the road builders. Why did their society collapse? The thing I loved about this book is you don't get like a huge reveal of like, oh, here's like a 5-page speech about completely explaining why the society collapsed, every little detail. You don't get that. You get like, oh, they come across a ruin here and they learn a little bit of tidbit. And then they come across another ruin maybe a couple hundred miles away and they learn a little bit more. But they never learn everything. You just get a little bit tidbits of fact there. You also get little glimpses of what's happened to society since then. So they reference empires and kingdoms that conquered huge amounts of territory and then they collapsed before the current society has risen. And you're never given much details about that. You just know in the several hundred years since the road builders collapsed, there's been other groups that have existed. Mainly, it sounds like people that are trying to conquer as much territory as possible. And for some reason, their kingdoms and empires eventually collapsed as well. But none were really that advanced. The current society is kind of as advanced as humanity's got since the road builders collapsed. So I love all this world building where you get a little glimpse of like, this is what the world is like and how it got to this point. But again, you're never given all the details, not like some big exposition and dump. With like some books you get that like, this is a little unrealistic that they happen to find the one diary that explained how everything happened. So I loved how they gave you little bits. So for people that are like me who love world building in books, I got enough info where I found it interesting and satisfying. For a lot of people who don't really enjoy that type of world building and they just want to focus on the plot, I think they'll still enjoy it too, because since you're getting a little tidbits, you're like, oh, this is boring. I want a 3-page speech about why the United States and the world collapsed. But like getting a little sentence here or there kind of makes you satisfied. Oh, that's interesting. I wouldn't mind learning more. And then they kind of head on to their next step. The characters in this book are really well done. I'll say the author does a really good job of keeping me guessing what's going to happen, as you might guess with a large group who's kind of traveling on horseback across the ruins of a dystopian society. There's maybe deaths along the way, some harrowing adventures, and most of the times I was able to guess how it was going to turn out. I found it very interesting, and I'll say up until the end, I didn't really know what they were going to discover, or if they would discover anything at all. So if you like dystopian, I would say this is a book I think you'll really enjoy a lot. I thought it was very well written, very interesting concept, very interesting story, very interesting characters. My only complaint is at the end, I felt like the end was rushed a little bit. Like they got to the end, and when the author wanted to wrap it up, it was almost like he was on a page limit. He's like, I think it probably would take me 50 pages to wrap that up the way I want to, but I'm under page limit, so I'm going to do it like in 20 pages instead. So the ending felt a little bit rushed. I would have liked a little bit more at the end. But other than that, I thought it was great. So that was my only one small critique. So if you enjoy dystopian and you're looking for a nice little quick novel that's standalone, this is not a series. That's another thing I really enjoyed. So many books I enjoy now when I read them. I'm like, oh, I didn't even know this is a part of a series, and I've read the first book, and now I'm like, oh, there's 9 more books I have to read. Oh, great. It can get overwhelming when every single book you read is a part of a series. So anytime I come across a book that's just a standalone story that I enjoy, I was like, well, thank you for giving me a book that I can read, enjoy, and not commit myself to read 10 more books. So I highly recommend Eternity Road by Jack McDevitt. Let me know in the comment section below, what is your favorite dystopian book you've ever read and why? If you enjoyed this review, please hit the like button. If you haven't, please subscribe to the channel. I appreciate the support. See you the next time, and happy reading.